Call the meeting to order of the Walpole Sewer and Water Commission, today being October 23rd, 6:30 PM. We have an advertised agenda for the meeting this evening. And as of 10 seconds ago, we have full membership in attendance. We're going to start the meeting off with review of the minutes. We actually have a plethora of minutes here. We have three sets of minutes. So I'll review the 7th of August meeting first. Is there any,
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Abbott?
On the first page, you will go up 1, 2, 3, 4 lines from the bottom, and where the sentence starts, Mr. Mattson adds that Walpole is looking for real water through Norwood. I assume that's not real. Is that Wheeling, do you think, Scott?
Yeah, we probably
Yeah.
Wheeling.
Yeah. So it's as in a wheel.
A wheel?
Yeah,
Wheeling,
wheel, yeah,
wheelbarrow.
but that's how you spell it.
Oh, okay.
On page 2, number 4, there are, I see 3 places where you say the ZPA, it's ZB as in boy, A.
ZB.
So there's 3 of those. And
Now, can I just say something? Is that a typo that Hamilton made, or is that a typo?
well,
Copy
no,
from
because
his-
if you go on to page 4, we have another ZPA, it
Yeah,
should be
just a misunderstanding
ZBA.
of
So
an
it's
acronym.
not
No.
his
No.
email that said that?
No, I mean, it's easy, I can see you listening to the thing, and Ps and Bs sound the same. Other than that, I didn't find any other issues.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, so we have a motion to approve minutes.
Make a motion to approve the
Bill,
minutes.
moved, second. Pradeep, moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. And we have 8/21/23.
I didn't find any problems. So unless someone else does,
Okay,
make a
got a pretty
motion.
clean sheet. Go ahead.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes of August 21st.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500. Thank you. And then finally, the 25th of September.
I think I have 2 copies of same minute.
Uh,
Yeah, I have 2 copies. Sorry.
For- On September 25th, on page 4, there's a reference to ZPA that should be ZBA. Other than that, everything looked fine to me.
Okay?
Page 4. See, Terry?
Wherever you see it, there is no
I don't
ZPA. Wherever you see a ZPA.
Page
it should be
4,
ZBA.
discussion number 1, memo from town engineer, reference modification to proposed Summer Street 40B. On
But
4,
that's the discussion item. It's underlined in bold.
well,
That says, what's wrong with
it's
that?
almost in the middle of the page, page 4.
Yeah,
Motion to send a letter. to
Motion.
ZPA.
It's almost smack,
oh, I see.
Yeah.
Down by the motion to, yeah.
Yeah.
okay. So it should be ZB?
B
As
is
in
in
boy?
boy, yeah.
Zoning Board of
Okay.
Appeals. Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
Yep.
Um,
I'll make a motion if there's no other changes that we approve the minutes of September 25th.
Okay,
I second that.
Pradeep, okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained,
Aye.
500. Okay, oh, thank you. Okay. Now, well, we're a little early, Patrick Vogel, is that you?
Sorry, Dan Boss from Kearsarge Energy.
What is it, Dan?
Dan Boss from Kearsarge
Boss.
Energy, yeah, for the North Street discussion.
That would be in correspondence number 1.
Is the superintendent's report? Come next?
Not, well, not quite,
When
we're
was
not
the-
quite yet. We have an appointment at 7. I just
Yeah.
thought maybe, you're from Cedars Crossing though, right?
No, I'm from
Oh.
North Street Solar, yeah.
Okay, good, okay, thank you. All right, so we'll skip down to the superintendent's report then, and he has a hand-delivered sheet here for you.
Certainly.
Jeff?
You got it?
Oh, yes, right there.
Okay, so since the board last met, there've been no water leaks to be attended to. We have had no major issues with the MTUs. We're running on time. We're setting up the software.
When you say that we're running on time, the MTUs, that's the issue that...
Yeah, so since the last meeting,
Yeah.
we had like a flood of
Yes.
MTU problems. There's been a few here and there that we have to address, but not like it was the last meeting.
Oh, okay, that's what you meant.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeff, you weren't here at the thing that I...
For the record, Scott, MTU stands for,
Meter
Right up this
transmitting
one here.
say that
Meter
again?
transmitting unit.
Explains,
Meter
Wire
transmitting
bill.
unit.
Yeah, it takes
Probably arrived
the
at
reading
the
from the meter
problem
and gets it into the
still
system.
not, even though 9 out of 16 or 11 out of 16 are estimated.
Okay, go ahead.
So we're setting up the software implementation for the pilot program for the new water meters. Right now, we're working on getting the office set up, the software, and we're picking specific locations to have tested. Yeah. Yeah. Wherever we get easy access and get the most information from it.
What's the highlights of the pilot program?
The highlights?
Yeah.
Well, it's potentially is much more efficient, uses a cellular system of 2 different networks versus using a radio frequency. The meter technology itself,
Is it gonna be internet-based?
not internet-based.
How are you doing it without radio waves?
It's not rated cellular, just like a cellular phone.
Okay, it's gonna be, do we have to pay for that?
Yeah.
And is this gonna be cheaper or more money?
As far as cheaper or more money, I'm not so sure how that breaks down, but you're gonna get a lot more efficiency, you're gonna get a lot more reliability, it'll be a modern system. You'll have the customer portal in there so that people can use their devices and see their account. And
You'll like it, you're gonna try it, because the commissioners are gonna be test guinea pigs.
Yeah, I know, I had, when we first started this.
it's a much more advanced system than what we have in place now.
Does anybody know of anyone who has dead zones where they live? Because that's, I mean, we're changing a system that we know has problems transmitting over radio. And if you're dealing with cell phones, all this is just sending, you know, basically, here's the account number, here's the reading, zip, you know, essentially like a text. If there's, I'd be interested to know if we know of any dead zones, and then we should put somebody, pilot there, just to see, are we trading one system that we can't get, you know, 100%
No, that's a good idea to pick a known problem with radio and see if that is resolved.
Yeah,
That's
that
right,
would
you
just
said
be a
there was two
concern.
systems, right? The
What's not
cell
two
system
systems?
and the,
Well, we're using a radio system now, but
Right.
this is a cellular system, but it doesn't use just one carrier. There's more than one carrier, so if you have a problem with
when you
one,
can't carrier, you're talking about,
AT&T, Verizon,
so 2 carriers. What, did they use the same cell sites?
I imagine they wouldn't if they're competitors. Well, I'm not sure. You see these antennas up, they have multiple, or towers up that have multiple antennas, and I can't tell you what company is on which one.
And we really never went into this. Wasn't there a committee that was supposed to study this?
I don't recall.
No, didn't we appoint somebody to look
No,
at this?
we've reviewed this over the years.
The earlier committee was to look for the portal, the customer service portal, you know. But this is both meter and the portal. So the meter also needs to be changed. And it comes with the portal also with a similar feature. So it's like updating both the, you can call it hardware and the software.
You know, my concerns are just what Commissioner Abbott had, you know, during 9/11, during emergency, the cell sites went, they stopped.
This is not the same.
If it's
Because-
using cell phones, why is it?
It is, but there's cell phones and there's different networks within the cell phones that are protected, like for government. After 9/11, some things changed, where government agencies and other users are not on the same pool of resources as everybody else, so that doesn't happen.
What are you gonna do when you have, a dead zone? How are you going to?
We have to identify
address
it, and once we identify it, we'll evaluate what the best option is, have the installers, the owners of the product, tell us how do you resolve this issue with this,
that?
system.
Have they said they'll be able to do the whole town?
Yes.
Right, be interesting to see what they come up with.
So you're at a little bit of a disadvantage, but I think you missed the last meeting where the information was.
But I may have missed the meeting, but I was listening.
Okay, well, in that packet, there's some details on the system.
Yeah.
Now, did have, the existing system where we're not getting transmissions, have you had a chance to see if there's a file that,
No, I will do that for you though.
okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So, moving on, the chimney out here, we have appropriated the funds to have that repaired, so that's underway, we're gonna put that out to bid. The latest PFAS 6 results came in, and they fell in line with historically what they have been. The Delaney plant was at 15.1 parts per trillion.
Output.
Yes. Yep. And the Willis Water Treatment Plant was at 2.41, so a little bit above detectable. If you go below 2 parts per trillion, it's considered not present. Keeping in line with the PFAS, now we have another appropriation, supposed to be for PFAS tri-element assessment. We're starting that now. Morningside Drive, we still don't have a firm ship date from Gorman Rupp. It's pushed back right now at least until mid-November. The consultant is working with them to find out what's going on and why we have this delay. And our guys are doing what they can. We're putting a water line over to the site, that's for startup and also for maintenance of the facility. We've been doing a lot of work with vectoring and jetting, and actually sewer work, camera work on the sewers as well. And we've still been aggressive with the hydrant repair and maintenance, and that as well as other tasks.
All right, any questions?
Any update on the membrane for Willis? Are you on track?
Yeah, that's gonna be end of November.
I don't know.
Yeah, we've got a lot of components on hand.
Yeah.
Not the membranes themselves, but the accessories, fittings. We've got quite a bit already, here. It's just getting the actual membranes themselves here.
Okay. Now, do they help you install them, or? you
They
guys
will
do it?
install them.
Okay.
Yeah, they will.
Cool.
Unlike the other refurbishments in the past, this one, we're not taking the whole cassette out,
Okay.
replacing everything. The membranes will be delivered, but not the frames. The frames that we have will be refurbished. So that takes a little bit away from the work involved.
Okay,
On the pilot program, just thought, we're replacing the meters? Okay, so,
Yeah, it's a different style of meter.
Yeah.
It's actually ultrasonic. There aren't any moving parts.
yeah,
So that's another technology improvement.
okay. No, it's-
okay.
There was a leak on corner of Norfolk and West.
I believe that was a drain.
Is that a
Yeah,
drain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's come in twice. It's been reported
Yeah,
as a
it was
leak.
like 2 months ago, and then it happened
Yeah.
again last week.
It's a drainage issue.
Did-
Okay, thank you, Scott. Correspondence, Cassage Walpole LLC, 1377 North Street. I don't know, you got any story on that, or?
I think the concern that we had was concern that there's an easement with a water line that, making sure that they did not put solar panels in our easement. Other than that, they don't use water as part of the solar. That's really, as I understand, the only issue that we had.
Well, on the second page of this memo, you'll see the concerns the board had, or concerns related to the board, that they've been addressed.
Yeah.
One of them was access, making sure that there's gates, the padlocks have keys issued to us, so we
Yeah.
get out, maintain, and repair anything we need to. Making sure the equipment wasn't on the easement. And then the conduit crossings were up to the town standards.
And they've addressed,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Then we have the data for water pumps since
All right.
by month.
Now, it's on landscape, bigger print, John. I think the only thing there is just, we've had 4 consecutive months where we're below average on the pumping, so I don't think it's a concern at this point, but, you know, we had a whole year where we were above, and hopefully we're not going the exact opposite direction.
But Bill, could I interrupt you for 1 second? I think the understanding on the Kearsarge thing was that they were before the planning board, and the planning board might have been concerned that the Board of Water Commissioners' concerns were not addressed, and they would like to have a letter from the board just saying that their
Oh, okay.
concerns.
Yeah, I actually, that's right, they held up yeah, we'd entertain a letter of confirmation for the approval of the mitigation or the adjustments they made in the plan.
I'll make a motion that we send a note to the planning board that the Sewer and Water Commissioner's concerns with the Kearsarge project have been addressed.
Well, I think the conduit location plan still not been provided.
Scott, is it not been provided?
They have the specifications for the conduit crossings. I'd have to look at the plan to see exactly where they're located. I believe the plan is on the drive here.
Could you just, before we,
Let's see what Jeff wants to do. Do you want to make sure they get that?
Yeah, I want to make sure that,
can we,
there's a comment here, the town is concerned with it, and final conduit layout is not to be submitted until a full building and electrical permit during detailed design, so. Until that step, I don't think we can say that all the issues were.
all right.
Okay.
Well, how do we, if this is a chicken and the egg, they can't go forward until it's all, we
Well,
have.
we meet every 2 weeks, so.
No, I'm just saying, is there something that they can't answer the last one until they're actually started? And they can't get started because they're being held up from us saying it's okay?
Well, I think that you could have craft a letter that's saying that confirming that they express their content in a letter to address our concerns.
All right.
What do we have?
I'll change my motion to use the phrase that you just said, John. Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, you were here.
Yeah, Dan Voss from Kearsarge Energy. I think, so the comment regarding the conduit crossing, when we presented, I think, 2 meetings ago to the planning board, we just indicated that the precise location of the crossing, once we've done the engineered design for the building plan submittal, it'll show the very precise location of the crossing, but we provided the details of the crossing to the engineering department, and so they were satisfied with that. So I think if the note was, simply that prior to building plan approval, the precise location of the crossing was indicated. We also noted that we would monument the crossing location. So we're monumenting each of the turns in the easement and monumenting the conduit crossing location, so it's very clear where it crosses the water main.
And what's holding up the delineation of the specific?
Crossing point. So once we have site plan approval, then we can move to the full design. So the site plan approval really defines the final area of the project. And with that full design, then we'll have the sort of detailed engineering requirements noted on the plan set. So this is
And the planning board also approved site plan, though.
Well, that's the process we're in right now. So the step we're in right now.
That's the
is-
chicken and egg.
Yes.
Yeah, so there are many details that are, for instance, the engineering department, identified details that they want to have confirmed, but those are confirmed through the building plan review process, so there's another review step, and that's when we submit plans for building plan approval. At that point, you have all the very detailed engineering calculations.
Well, I know, but your proposed plan could be, if you have it in your map, in your bag there, maybe you could show Mr. Fisher where it is.
Sure, is it,
Component.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had initially indicated a proposed crossing location, but then the concern was that if we change the crossing location as part of the development of the plans, then we need to go back to the planning board. So what we put on the chart was just that note. Mr. Fisher identified saying that there will be a crossing point. You know the pages on? Yes, and go down two more. Good.
Page 34.
Yeah, one more. So this is the site plan, the proposed site plan. You can see. Maybe, you'll see.
Can you zoom to
Yeah, you can zoom
easement,
in
yeah?
so that
This one,
that's-
the easement side, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So the site plan shows the gate, shows that everything's been moved off the easement. The easement's a 20-foot easement, wool monument, the crossing at the road, the crossing at the turn, and the crossing down here at the property line and at the fence. The county surveyors will put monuments there, so that's very clear. And then this is where the equipment facilities are going to be, and so the crossing location will likely just be here, close to this roadway. So this would be the area that we would typically have a crossing. And so we put a note on just to say that we'll define exactly the crossing location once the engineering drawings are sorted out, because what they basically do is a very detailed wiring plan, and that wiring plan will sort of determine.
No, I know, but you could do they do preliminary plans all the time. You could have put it on the plan,
Well, so
and
this
then
is- this-
have a definitive once you're told what the site plan requires.
Right, so what we did was present to the site plan board, the crossing detail indicated that at the final location of the crossing on the easement, we would show that with the building plan and engineered submission.
No, I
So-
understand that, but you have a commissioner who wants to see it.
The final location can't be put on, so we have a note that says we will be crossing it, and we've got the detail of the
Put
crossing.
your intent, put the intended location where you think it should be, and then, if it needs to be amended in the definitive plan, it will be.
Sure, so we can just show here, and if that's satisfactory, then we'll submit that again to the planning board.
Are you the in-house engineer?
I'm the project developer, so
So you work for Casage?
yes,
Okay, good, okay.
yeah, so we can,
You're not a consultant, so
no,
we can
so
get back to you.
Yeah, so we can simply show here if it's satisfactory, and if, we'll show right here. So,
Yeah, so you said that easement's what, 20 feet wide, you
right, quick away.
said? You got a solar panel array that two right there, right?
These two here?
Yeah,
Right.
those are like right, basically touching it.
No, so
Then you got one in the back.
So the posts are in the center here. And so this is about, approximately 10 feet. So the posts here would be 5 foot outside the easement.
You said 10 feet.
So so this is a 20-foot easement. That's about 10 feet. So the posts would be in the center. So it would be about 5 feet outside the easement. The posts themselves, and then the panels are on a slope, so it's going to be 8 feet in the air.
I mean, you can still get a truck down.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, so 20 feet, I mean, just from a scale standpoint, typically we live about 15 feet around the outside, so we can get our own service trucks, similar to the water truck.
I mean, you're bringing a backhoe down there, and you gotta swing the thing around. It's up to you, I mean, it's not on the easement, but.
Yeah.
Well, you can, we'll meet in 2 weeks, you can come back and send him the plan so he sees it before the meeting. You know, again,
I think the
Could
challenge.
we say that everything but this has been addressed, and then leave the approval? I mean, Scott knows what we.
Easement
what we
concerns
need.
have been addressed, was pending final location of the conduit.
There you go.
But we think it'll be in the, where all the utilities are there, closest to North Street, where it's gonna cross.
Yeah.
This will be a line.
So in terms of the.
Just
Yeah,
curious,
there's
why
no-
do you have two that are just in that location? You would think.
So they had them further out here, so it's just a
Oh, they,
movement of the panels, because we're limited on the AC, on the AC side, and so the DC side, which is the total capacity, is limited by the AC. So we can just slide these up here, if that, you know, so there's further distance.
I would wonder why.
We had more panels originally, so when the consultants, the city engineer, town engineers asked that we move them off the easement, we just moved them off the easement, because this is a very
You're right.
schematic drawing, and when we get down to the detailed drawing, you know, we'll be, you know, leave more space. But for the purpose of the site plan review, we just simply move them off the easement, so they'll put it off the easement. That was the original, you know, feedback that we received from the city engineer from an easement standpoint. So the concern is that the planning commissioner or the chair of the planning board wants an affirmative, and if there's a condition that needs to be placed on the planning approval, yeah, probably request that, and just say that, you know, request review of the final easement location and location of panels adjacent to easement, you know, prior to building permit. I think that would be fine for the chairs, from the chair standpoint, but if we would say that it's not quite approved, then you would want to go back through this. And so it's a little bit, as you said, it's a bit of a chicken and the egg.
What do you say if the issue in question is satisfactory to the superintendent,
Oh, that would be fine. We could send the plan set to Scott.
rather than, you know, coming back? Because most of the things, other than this particular, which has been addressed, it's just.
all right, so the commission is affirming or confirming that our concerns have been addressed, except subject to the final location of the conduit, subject to the superintendent's approval.
Yeah. I'll second that.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Thank you. Do you have a card with you? Would you leave your card with the
Yeah, sure.
secretary if you can? Thank you.
Why didn't we use a water easement instead of a utility easement?
Why?
We've gotten in trouble before that.
No, I
yeah.
know. Well,
It's
this
just water right now.
goes probably back when, this is going for the Apple Tree Lane.
Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yes, yeah, but
I'm just curious why,
it's, you know, what, sometime in the 1980s, so you're talking
well, now's the time we could have
40
changed
years
that.
ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't know, you didn't have any reason to change it to a utility easement?
Okay, it's just about 7 o'clock.
But does anyone have any questions on the revenue?
Oh, yeah, I'm
Does that
sorry.
take
Yeah,
care
we
of
have
that?
one, the revenue menu.
It's 1.6 million for water and the 1.4 for sewer so far.
Mhm. You know, it's still early in the year, and it doesn't flow in a straight line. Because you go in, we're actually going into the point where we'll be using less water than in the summer, so revenue increases should be smaller, and then they'll get bigger again later.
Okay, all good? All right. So we have a 7 o'clock appointment with HSH Engineering regarding Cedar Crossings, 40B.
Mr. Chairman,
Hello?
can you sit right here?
Sure.
So,
And you can talk at the mic if you like.
would you like me to?
Sure.
Sure, you're gonna be on
And
TV.
introduce yourself as well, so we know.
Mr. Chairman, and members of the board, my name is John Shipe. I'm here on behalf of Fairfield Residential. Your minutes, your agenda talks about Howard Stein Hudson. They're the civil engineers, and Patrick was not available tonight. But as Fairfield Residential is the proponent of the project there, I'm here tonight, and Ray Willis with On-Site Engineering, specifically the experts that helped design the water and sewer systems. So I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Well, why don't you walk us through your on-site layout?
If you have a copy of the plans, that'd be great. Otherwise, I can summarize them for you.
I have a question, I mean, the utilities were already proposed, planned, was approved. So I'd be interested in what you've changed from the original.
Great question. I understand where you're coming
Yeah.
from. So to recap, this was a 268 unit project that was approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals last year, I believe it was, early last year. And it was a 40B project.
Right.
There are two different parcels, approximately 27 acres each. And 212 of the 212 units on one of the parcels was proposed to be an apartment community. And the remainder of the residences were on the other 27 acres, and they were going to be single-family homes. As you know, the economy has changed and people's desires for development changed. The owner of the property there, the 27 acres here, we worked out a deal where we would acquire also that lot. So Fairfield Residential owns phase one. We call it phase one here, 212 units. We've actually started construction on Bel Air Way, we've named it, and that's been accepted by the town. So we started construction here, and then we're adding the 56 additional units, as shown here, also with multifamily as apartment community. But you're right, the drawings were approved, a year ago or so. Basic layout of the water and sewer hasn't changed. It's just the program. Instead of single-family homes along Lusher Way, I believe this is named. One of the benefits from the sewer infrastructure changes is that we used to have 3 sewer pump stations, and now we only have 1. And that's located right here. Otherwise, the whole layout is a system of gravity SDR 35 8-inch sanitary sewer pipes that have a collection point at the sewer pump station and a force main that runs the sewer back up to discharge to the existing sewer in Summer Street. And that's a basic overall program. I believe these drawings were submitted to the building department, and we will be following up once we receive final approval from the zoning board. We'll be following up with building permit plans for the adjacent property, the additional 56 units. It's not additional units, I'm sorry, it's a conversion of the single-family homes to rental.
So it's the same number of, I guess the same number of people will be in the current, what's being proposed?
Yep, it still, always was 268 units and still is, right.
So the volumes should be the same whether they were single family?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Same, Title V, half of Title V, all that stuff. Yep.
So this is your engineer here?
Ray Willis, absolutely, yes.
So the MDD and the ADD are the same?
They actually were reduced because the number of bedroom counts went down. So originally, the maximum day flow was around 56,000 gallons a day. Now it's 52,000 gallons a day. So actual water demand went down.
Thanks, Ray. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting, the Wright Pierce hydraulic modeling for your project was actually done by the town of Walpole through our engineers, and they used historical data from Weston and Sampson, et cetera, which is interesting. But I guess the thing that was, and he isn't here tonight, there was a gentleman, William Hamilton, who had concerns about the off-site sewer line of any, because this is such a significant project. Any off-site impacts this volume of additional flow would have on a particular choke point within the route.
I'm sorry, is that a question?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with any.
Did you do any off-site analysis of, of other impact? Usually in the planning board, it's a community impact thing.
Yeah, to my knowledge, the
Your
applicant
project
was,
affects the other resources.
yeah, to my knowledge, and I'm pretty familiar with it, the applicant was never asked to make any investigations.
I would, if you looked on Weston and Sampson's page 4, like the last sentences, based on our review of existing data and the calculated hydraulic capacity evaluation, the sewers affected by the proposed connection appear to be capable of handling the proposed additional flow from the development. And I think at the time when this was done, it was 360 units that got cut down because the town, the ZBA denied the original. The state sent it back and said, both of you work it out, and then they came down to the 250, whatever the number of units are. So, I mean, that's why I wasn't concerned with the sewer, because at a larger development, we have a statement from Weston and Sampson, who's our sewer, saying that it, shouldn't be an issue. And now they're, have fewer units than when they did that analysis.
And the other thing to note is when we had the 3 pump stations, our maximum discharge off the site would have been upwards of 200 gallons a minute. Now we've reduced that to half, which is 120 gallons a minute.
So that was, I mean, I'm not gonna advocate for somebody who isn't here he made a case. We did, just for your information though, it was, I think, frustrating for the Sewer and Water Commission. We just wanted someone to come in and explain the plan, walk us through it, what you were doing, what kind of pump stations you were putting in, if there was any off-site.
No, I can't believe that nobody,
And-
before me didn't do that. I'm here for you tonight.
Yeah, I know, it's 3 years too late.
Yeah, sorry.
So,
I'm glad to
I
answer
mean,
any
that's
questions.
all,
Yeah,
that was, and the board voted to send that letter over to the zoning board to say, we never did really have them come and explain the plan.
yeah,
And other people,
makes
the
sense.
other 40Bs have come in here and explained their plans
yeah.
to us. And so that was it, and we did have one person who had a particular thing, but I'm not gonna try to construct his case because,
Understood. That's okay. So, Ray and I are here. We can understand both, historically, if this project was never presented, or based on the current changes. If you have any other questions, that's an overview. We'd be glad to go through any other details. I know that you have a pretty substantive fee structure, so we have that on our horizon. I know that you have requirements for drain layers licenses, and, of course, our contractor will pull all of the necessary licenses there. Ben, is there anything else?
yeah, well, I just would ask the board if anyone has anything else. This is kind of just this is a sidebar, I guess, but basically, I think the concern about this project is the size of it.
Sure.
And, you know, there's certain people somewhere in town who had preferred to go after these big projects instead of approving little projects around the town of 20 units or 15 units or something, of having these mega projects, which more people object to, more residents
I
object
understand.
to.
Yeah.
Is there anybody here from the public who wants to?
No, I don't believe, I think, no, I don't think so.
Speaking in favor.
Yeah, but that's, we'll find out in a minute here. Okay, well, that's it then. I guess if the commissioners have no other concerns and they feel satisfied that the offsite is not I think our staff would have told us, but there is, you know, like, we had one project, the last town meeting, we had to replace a pump station in a project that's $400,000. So we don't want people giving us bad pump stations.
Understood.
So,
I wouldn't want to either.
yeah. So we do appreciate you coming in and making the plans available, and this is our new screen, so we can finally all look at the same plan at the same time. which
Yeah, yeah,
we didn't have set
thank
up.
you for having the plan available, actually.
Yeah, no, we try to help, we try to accommodate you.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it
Okay.
then. We out.
Okay, thanks very
We'll
much.
we'll let the zoning board know that you came in.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. The next item is a discussion of, I guess Scott put this on the agenda, right? Darwin Lane? Darwin Common?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure that, I don't know if the board wants to discuss, we got material that was late, that came in within the 48-hour window. And some was emailed to you, whatever, but if you want to discuss this among yourselves, you might. Bill Abbott went to the last zoning board meeting, and he spoke on behalf of himself as a
You know, this is
commissioner.
late information. So
Yeah.
can we have, like, I'd like to have some time to look at that over.
I mean, I
Well,
can-
not only that, if we're going to discuss a project, we should let the proponent or the or engineer for the proponent know that it's going to be discussed here too, so they can come and
Well, we
explain.
certainly can ask them to come in. I did, as John said, I did go to the zoning board hearing on this project, and they had this Tetra Tech, who is the engineer that the ZBA uses on all their project for peer review, and he spoke, and basically then it was my turn, and I said I was just reiterating the information that we had sent to the ZBA. One, that we're concerned about the density of the project, also the runoff, but if you have walked the site, you know it's very hilly and it slopes eventually towards our Washington number 5, and our concerns there. Also, I brought up, and you can see on this, we've identified that, all the focus has been on Washington 5, but if you look that Washington 2A and B, 3A and B are, less than 1,000 feet away from this, and that was something that they weren't aware of.
That's why we should post, you have a lot of good questions right
Right.
now.
Well,
My motion will be that we postpone this until the next scheduled meeting.
And have somebody come up
And
here.
have what you,
Yeah.
what'd you say? How'd you put it?
Oh, I reiterated the.
No, how'd you say we should have somebody from what?
Oh,
From the
the
proponent.
proponent's engineer to explain.
And so our secretary would notify the proponents.
Right.
Okay, that would be my
Yes.
motion.
Well, the only other thing, in addition to that information, was that my concern, and I don't think we have a picture of the development, as proposed, but where it comes closest to the 400-foot radius of Washington 5, it looks to me like you may be talking that the building is like maybe 10 or 15 feet away from the edge, I have concern about being able to
Well, that's why we
construct.
need to have somebody tell
Right,
us this.
construct that building, and then once it was developed, and it's something I've mentioned before, is that I think that as a condition, if approved, that we require that there be a hard fence delineating the 400-foot, because my concern is that a couple years in, little Timmy and Mary will have a swing set that somehow is now within our, and Tetra Tech says, you're right, I should have noted that the chances of somebody going into the
Do you want to
400-foot.
amend my motion?
Yes,
What?
I'll let you amend your own motion.
I'm not gonna, I had the motion is out
Yes.
now.
Is there a
No,
second?
well, anyways, that was what I presented at the,
Yeah, and I think we should have that time to, at a meeting
Yeah,
to
no, I think
go
that's-
through all this.
Did somebody say something was late?
was late.
This.
Yeah, the
this
date,
is not on the meeting
the
agenda.
thing from the DEP and so forth came in.
It's on the agenda.
Friday.
No, it's 40B. It's on the agenda. And we got this in our packet. What was late?
Well,
I'm missing something.
did you get this, Jeff?
I think B and.
Yeah, but that was.
No,
48
no,
hours.
That was for the 40B.
Doesn't
That
have
was
to be,
for the summer
doesn't it
street.
have to be in before Friday?
This-
By Friday? Yeah.
Yeah, when is your?
Agenda-
The
the agenda
DEP
has
notice
posted
was
Thursdays.
from Friday afternoon.
I don't have a DEP.
The late mail was on 55 Summer,
Yeah.
not on this one,
Oh,
No, no,
okay.
no,
All
right.
so
And we have
this was all in
parts,
the packet.
But there was some
Everyone's in
stuff
order
that
and
was-
ready to,
yeah.
I think we have some people from the public here too, that wanted to speak to it, so.
Well, I'm not entertaining that. If there's a motion by Patrick, I'll second it.
Okay.
To continue this until we have parties, have a presentation from the people who are doing the plan, not from the public. Public can make their presentation after the proponent makes the.
I don't know that they're here to speak to it. I'm just assuming.
Yeah,
That's the only thing left on the agenda.
That's a good assumption.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, even though I understand where you're going with the idea, but if somebody has come, I think it would be appropriate to at least have.
Well, we have a meeting, we have a motion and a second, and you want to discuss it. My concern is, there's a lot of propaganda, a lot of misinformation out there, and you're communicating to the public. So I think both parties, particularly if somebody is presenting a plan and you're discussing their proposal, you should give them the courtesy of being here and discussing it, not having it from their people who have, opposition to it without knowing, hearing from who's the engineer and who is it, et cetera.
I would just have one other
I would
thing.
object that you can't second this motion.
Well, I would just, has your
Okay.
ownership or whatever, I mean, in the past, you've
Yeah,
excused yourself.
I have opinion, I can talk about it. I already announced I'm not voting on this. And I don't
Okay.
really plan to discuss it, but as a matter of running the agenda, he made a motion. If you don't want to accept his motion, you want to have a discussion without the people here who are doing the plan, then go ahead.
I would like to at least have them, even, I understand where you're going, but if somebody has come to our meeting, I don't think they're going to take a lot of time to express their opinion. Let them speak.
About what?
It's on
No
the
one's
agenda.
presented the plan. All right, so there's a motion to second. All in favor?
There's not a second. You can't second.
Okay. Is there no second?
Can you repeat the motion? It's a motion by.
My motion is that we postpone this discussion on this particular point of this project till the next scheduled water and sewer meeting.
And the proponent of the project should do
Yeah.
presentation. Okay.
Yeah.
I second that.
Okay, so it's moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Can I just ask, once, I see that the things are two separate. One, where we don't want to take, I guess, you're saying, take a position on this project until we've heard from the applicant and their engineer. And I don't have any objection to us waiting, I've already appeared before the ZBA. But after we've taken that vote, would we give a chance for the people who came here to have their say, and we can limit their position?
Yeah, I think it's inappropriate. I think that this.
They
way-
should hear
in
both
fact,
sides of
I'm
the
concerned about
story.
this, this got on the agenda somehow. I wasn't told what was on the agenda. And certainly, if someone's project is on the agenda, they should be notified by us and by our staff.
As your motion is written, I don't have an objection. I believe we should have them come. So rather than, I'm guessing that we might have a 2-2, but I want us to have the applicant come before us. I guess,
We instruct them to do that.
I have a feeling the applicant will be here multiple times.
in the,
An applicant is here, he's right there.
well, no, he's really not an
He's the
applicant.
co-applicant on the 40B.
No, he's not the applicant. I mean,
He's
Mr.
the
Petrosi
co-applicant
is.
on the project. Has a vested financial interest. And he's sitting there.
So it's up to you. You want to go ahead and have a discussion with them, I'll go out of the room, but, you know.
Well, I think the public would want to hear, exactly what they have to say too. But you did come here tonight, so do you want to make a statement?
We're just here to see if there's anything new.
Okay.
And apparently there is something new.
Because like I
We didn't
say,
see either.
you came, you took the trouble to come here tonight, and at least you could, if you wanted to make a statement, that would be fine.
We saw it on the agenda, so we came. Yeah.
Okay, do you have a statement you'd like to make?
There's something new that we don't know about.
Yeah, that's the reason why I thought it was in discussion. But if there's nothing new, then, all right, we take care of everything with the ZBA.
I'd like to hear what the other, what the proposals are, and I'd like to hear what the applicant's engineers have to say, because it's a very, very interesting site. And, Commissioner Abbott brought out a bunch of things in the beginning there that, I'd like to hear more about that in depth,
Everything is on the Walpole website, it's all right there.
Are we able to, am I able to speak for a second and ask a question?
I'm sorry, what?
Am I able to ask a question?
You can do anything you want.
Thank you. My name is Joe Moriarty. I'm 28 Darwin Lane, a direct abutter to this. So is there something new? I mean, you mentioned a DEP letter, so. Well, John, you're shaking your head, so I don't know what does that mean?
Well, I don't. Material was sent here, Scott initiated it and put it on the agenda. So the material, as far as I know, has all been seen at the zoning board. There's 3 documents that have all been.
Right.
So,
Right.
but this board hasn't, since that zoning board meeting, this board hasn't met.
Right.
So
Okay.
in the event
Understood.
that he had anything else to say
Well,
otherwise.
Mr. Abbott seemed to have a really good handle on it on the last night, so he spoke well on the subject, and we've hired a water expert, so we've done a lot of our due diligence, so it would be nice to hear both sides.
Yeah,
And have
he
both
brought
sides
up
have an
3
opportunity
topics
to talk,
and,
if that's what's needed, so. I thank you. Thank you, Mr. Abbott, for the last night.
Thank you for coming tonight. At least you don't have too far to go.
Practically walk. Okay.
I hope that means you know the site very well.
MWRA water connection. That's the next one.
Can I got some information on that.
Well, just can we, to Terry, could we pass this, continue, put this in our next package when we have the,
There's no vote, so what is?
Yeah, we have a truncated vote here.
Well, we-
What's the vote on that? Do we want to continue
we
this to?
want to have the people come in. My only issue was
Yes or no, Commissioner Abbott?
we gave them a chance to speak. You've addressed my concern. Somebody came here.
You're changing your vote?
Well,
I'm abstaining.
in the fact that they got to speak, which they have addressed my concern, I certainly want the engineer and the proponent to come before us. So I don't have any objection to your motion. if that prevented them from speaking, then that's where I had a concern and would vote against it.
Well,
but-
anybody who comes to a public meeting
Exactly.
has the right to speak.
Well, not really.
Well, really,
If
unless
it's a public
on
hearing, if
something
it's a public
completely different.
meeting,
But this
there,
is on the agenda, so.
yeah. So they've had a chance to speak, so it's addressed my concern.
All right, so Scott's going to have,
Yes or no, Commissioner
Notify
Abbott?
So so we need to vote for
That we want
the
to,
motion on the.
we
ballot.
want them
Motion's
to
on the
come
floor.
before, yes.
Yes or no?
Yes, I want them to come,
So yes,
yes.
Yes, so what's?
okay, so it's 3-1-1.
your center.
No, again.
Three,
I mean, I have a letter here from Scott Horsley, Water Resources Consultant. I assume that's who you hired. I mean,
Yeah.
you were here to speak to it. Again, we don't have to speak to it tonight. We can speak to it when everybody's here, the applicant. So
That's why I'm asking that this material
so
be
so
part
what's
of
your
our
vote?
package.
it's still no, but
Okay,
But
yeah,
We can
so
make Mr. Horsley available.
it's 3-1-1.
Well, that material is in old, and so I don't know if when you got it, but I get it. That's from August. That's from August. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Close this.
Okay.
Next one.
MWRA connection, there was
Yeah,
a meet, but you.
no, just, go ahead, you go. This is
Thank you.
just some information I picked up. It's,
There was a meeting via, I guess, it wasn't Zoom, it was, what was the name of the?
Teams. Teams.
Teams meeting,
Microsoft Teams.
which Bill Abbott and I attended, and the other staff was elsewhere. Steve was with us, but it included representatives of Norwood, and I believe Rick Mattson was also on the and Scott were also on that.
We had Norwood's Norwood's water department folks were there, but also the engineer that, Norwood's engineer, so there was like two parties that were Norwood.
what's his
Right.
name? The Norwood engineer.
He used to be, Stantec is the engineering firm. Who's their, Ryan, his last name was,
I think
he used to work,
be here.
No, Mark,
Is that
not
correct?
Mark Ryan. Mark
It's
Ryan
not
was
Mark Ryan?
with their Department of Public Works.
Okay.
yeah, I think he was there, but
Yeah.
Anyways.
So anyway, there were people from Norwood, they were their water engineer for this project, as well as our consultant from Weston and Sampson, and a couple of the staff from, three of the staff at least from Walpole, and then several staff from Norwood, and then Bill and myself observing this. And I would say ultimately 3 sites were discussed and concluded to by their engineer, which involved Route 1A, Walpole Street, which involved Route 1, Providence Highway, and then the third one was Pleasant Street that came up at the end. They say that they had considered Washington Street, but they didn't, for certain reasons, that wasn't, like, I guess they have a lot going on Washington Street, Norwood.
Yeah, well,
What now the table?
Mylon, is that off?
Well, Mylard is, we have no water connection to Mylard. In other words, because of the railroad tracks and the bridge, Norwood's water is coming up Walpole Street, which is, we call 1A. And Mylard Street, we're on one side of the bridge. So we'd have to,
yeah.
for the land, excuse me, I'm not making that sense. The land that we would want to use for the pump station is on one side of the bridge. We have other water services on the, I mean, we have water service on the other side, but the connection to a pump house or whatever is on the other side. So I guess that was considered to be a problem. Well, I don't know, maybe you could, I'm just trying to give my sense of what was discussed. The
I thought there was
capacity.
a big main that crossed the bridge. Like a 10 or 12 inch main that crossed the bridge. I think it's on the
We
map.
got it on the map, but.
Yeah.
certainly anything that affected Route 1A is not gonna, they're not gonna dig that up, as
Well-
Rick made that quite clear.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing.
12-inch cross.
It'd be a new street opening for 1A2, I guess, which they're just finishing that now, with the redevelopment of 1A.
I don't think the bridge was an issue.
What?
I don't think the bridge was an issue. The bridge?
Oh, okay, then I misunderstood.
Norwood, but.
That
So-
area, if I recall, there was more issues there. Pressure was lower, you know, and it was better at the Route 1.
Yeah, Route 1 had the pressure, they had all the,
Yeah.
they had all the pressure, and they had the big size of.
Bigger
the
mains
main
and all.
everything. So that's kind of, but they are gonna be redeveloping their lines on Pleasant Street also.
Right.
And so they just kind of floated that out, and their consultant didn't do too much work on Pleasant Street.
And I think wasn't the issue that, well, we weren't sure where would we put, you know, we need a relatively small parcel for if only for a meter. And that was an issue. It may be the best spot, but maybe we don't have any land.
On Pleasant Street?
Yeah,
Well, that's kind of, I would think that would be, there's a graveyard there.
right.
Yeah.
And there's also, and we own part of the graveyard, by the way, the town of Walpole.
Yeah,
And there's also businesses
right.
that we could probably deal with and get some type of a leasehold or a,
Well, that's something
buy
that
some
could be
piece of it.
investigated. The other thing, John, if you remember, was Stantec was looking at that we would be using the 1 million gallons a day, not during the day, but rather from 7 PM to 7 AM, basically to refill our storage tanks. And, okay, that was all well and good, that's certainly a possibility, but we asked them to do their modeling again as what may be more likely to use. What would the effect of us using, rather than 2 million gallons, or the flow of 2 million gallons, in other words, trying to put 1 million gallons a day into 12 hours, what if it was spread out? What was the impact? And that's something that they have to redo and get back to us, because it may change, you know, some of the results that they had.
The other thing that, well, along with that, but I think we, since we might be asking for the 2 million gallons a day, so we don't ever have to go back, that she modeled it for essentially 12-hour period for 2 million
Right.
MGD. So that, I thought that was good, but then we just said, because originally we had discussed it, show it the other way too. But I was thinking maybe Norwood would have a big impact reaction to the difference between 1 and 2, but apparently they don't. In fact, they actually like 2 better. So I don't think, I mean, they do that analysis, but I don't think it's going to impact Norwood's response. And I think it's up to our staff now to figure out if there is an opportunity on Pleasant Street, you want to go with the Route 1A. And Mr. Fastenal brought up an excellent point, because there is a vacant piece of land in the back of the cemetery. And I was thinking about that. In fact, I went up there to look at it 2 days ago to see if I'd remembered that Charles Bird was buried back there. He's at the very end of this, but then there was a piece of land in back.
Yeah.
And I remember somebody saying that, that's either surplus land, or Walpole had that land, or for some reason, the cemetery wasn't going to be extended back there. That was just kind of, and that's right at the town line. Right there. Between the two. So that might turn out to be a place, if Rick thinks that's the best, because I sense, and maybe we couldn't read too much in, but I sense that their DPW guy was kind of very predisposed to Pleasant Street, if that could possibly fit in the picture. I was thinking maybe because if he's replacing pipes there, he figures, we could participate.
Well, certainly, if there has to be anything done in Norwood, we're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I guess he was looking, you're right, John, they have plans within the next couple of years to do something to upgrade the Pleasant Street area. And you're right, maybe they'll say, well, maybe we got a chance for Walpole to pay for part of it. But so anyways, we'd certainly like to look at that if it was a better solution than, you know, if you start dealing with Route 1, now this, I'm not sure exactly where things are, but just digging, you know, a state highway is not a cheap thing and probably buried in bureaucracy. And certainly 1A.
The details alone will kill us.
Yeah, and 1A where they're just redoing the thing, that's gonna be an issue, so.
Well, staying on the political part, you know that we were not encountered in the different phases that they had set up.
Right.
But we managed to get on to that, and we're now very well ensconced in their planning. But from what I'm understanding from MWRA, is that Walpole, even though we've been talking about these problems like they're real problems, these are nothing compared to other towns who have like 5-year programs to bring water lines across other towns or bring it by other towns. So if they want to sell their water kind of quickly, we're in a much better position than all the other towns basically, because we sit right next to it. And we have a giant aqueduct that comes from Boston right to the Norwood line. That we paid for because it's a tax money that built it.
Yeah.
So we basically have a lot going for us, and we have different ways that we can use the water. Like you said, we can bring it in at night, we can bring it in over periods of time depending on how much infrastructure Norwood has. And you are right, we'll pay for everything in Norwood.
Yeah.
That is true, but that's tiny.
Peanuts, yeah.
That's tiny compared to, imagine taking land and getting easements and bringing this water line through
Miles, yeah.
a
And,
city.
you know, Norwood experienced that great, they wanted to, there's a well, I think, in Buckmaster Pond and whatever, and Westwood says, you're not touching any of our streets. I don't know how they were gonna get those, and it's basically just sort of died. Town of Walpole was interested long time ago about acquiring that well.
Well, you know, did you ever hear of a water seizure? Are you familiar with that?
No.
Take a look in your spare time in the general laws about water seizures, and you'll be absolutely shocked at some of the things. When I worked for the City of Boston Water Department, there was this thing, I keep seeing it on the map, the Brookline water seizure. Back in the day, still on the books.
Yeah.
Towns and cities can, by right, if the legislature approves, seize water in other towns for their use.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of things going on, but we don't have to worry about any of that.
That's true.
We're right there. We don't have to worry about seizures and getting utilities and taking people's houses and things like that.
So I think that as a result of this meeting, I think our staff has to kind of figure out what site they want to go for. And I think then we have to have it go back to Norwood and
The other
get that.
positive thing is we were sort of stuck waiting for Norwood's engineer Stantec to do the thing. Well, they've done it, and we got to talk to them, and, you know, they seemed sure. We could redo the thing with having the flow come, you know, all 24 hours rather than all at once. And, you know, then hopefully that means we can go to the next activity on that project chart.
The line on Providence Highway on Route 1 is, they have pressure reducing systems on it because, as you say, the head is so big coming from the
And
inlet.
that
So they have
also-
plenty of pressure.
MWRA owns, or they have leases or something to a certain piece of land. If you notice, that's where the meters are, the sewer meter. They put a new sewer meter in. There's some type of a piece of land there that MWRA has control over. So if we were thinking about pumping station or something, I'm sure we'd be going there because it's already in the public arena. You know what I'm
Specifically,
talking about?
where
Yeah,
is
no,
it?
I know where it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to know where it is. Where-
You have to go through the certaintied property off of Pleasant Street, go down and under and across.
bridge?
Or you can see there's a giant on Pleasant Street, if you go by H&V, on the right side as you're heading to Norwood, there's this humongous snowplow thing. If you look down that, so it's sort of between,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
All right, so that's the story on that, and I think if the ball's in our court, and maybe Scott can follow up with DPW and Rick and see where you want to go, and then try to coordinate with Norwood. And even on Route 1, the lady said something else I thought was significant. She showed how, she thought that, like, if we were doing 2 million gallons per day, that the way it showed the chart, she thought that was good because it would help keep the water moving in their tanks. The throughput of their tanks would be sped up.
Yeah. The other
So-
thing they did is they had
It's
graphs
like-
showing, this is what Norwood does, impact just of their normal activity. They also have an emergency connection with Sharon. And now it's only an emergency connection. It's not like what we're asking for, which would be use anytime. So there was another line, okay, this is what the additional impact of Sharon. And then, okay, if you add ours, which, the only time both Sharon and us would be drawing water would be in an emergency. Normally, it would just be us.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see they were able to measure and tell us what the pounds per square inch, what the pressure was under both conditions. And certainly Route 1 being closer to their Sharon connection, it had a bigger effect on the other one near Mylod Street. But I thought it was a good meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. So we'll stay on top of that with Scott and Rick and try to get reports back from them so we know what direction we're going and keep that going. So we also have then on old business Jarvis Farm.
Yeah, can I ask,
Oh, yeah, sure.
Just so, from a budget standpoint, do you recall what we were originally approved for this kind of feasibility stage? And really, it was kind of under looking for additional water sources.
Yeah, supplementary.
So we supplemental water sources.
Yeah.
It was, I think it was originally 800,000, but we might have knocked it down
We
to
did.
350 or something.
Yes.
It's 350 or 380, one or the other.
Something, I'm trying to remember what the original numbers were. How much is this contract, how much have we outlaid? And then I guess from our standpoint, do we have an interest in using some of those additional funds on, satellite wells or anything else that we, because that was really the mission, supplemental water sources. We're well down the MWA, that's where our focus has been for the last year, getting that ball rolling. So now that we've got that ball rolling, do we take some of those additional funds and start looking at, what do we got up in Minebrook,
We
Just
do
kinda
have,
asking the
yeah,
board.
but we
That's
do
a
have
good-
an estimate from, I believe it was from Bright Pierce. of-
All stuff that needs to be dusted off, though.
Right, and it has been dusted off more than once.
I'm sure it has.
So we do have that information, and maybe to get a newer adjusted. And basically, they're just saying, here's the items, increase it by 5% or whatever, to account for the just inflation from the original time. Now, I suppose it, because I think you're right, at the end, when we say, we're going with option A or B, you'd want to have at both saying, here's what the, doing in Minebrook is what it's going to cost, and, the benefits, and here's what it's going to cost to do the, go with the
When we ask for
MWA
support
route.
in the spring, and, there is a big outlay of capital, we may be asked, well, how much is it for a well, and where would we put it? And
We actually
I
had-
want to show that we've done that investigation.
We actually had at least 3 options. There's MWRA, there's Minebrook 4, and then there's other supplementary wells that if you had a well replacement, what else you can do to get more capacity.
Yeah.
So there's options there, not just one option of MWRA.
But we had discussed that in great depth, particularly with Rick Mattson. And I think after all of that, even in talking with our consultant, they both agreed that it really was not going to be fruitful to pursue Minebrook again. And, you know, it's good money after bad. When you start throwing $1 million bills at that to do that, Jeff, I don't, this here, I mean, you have good ideas, but I mean, I really, it's like we have heaven opening the gates for us, and we're not gonna get hesitant and be, you know, not take advantage of the opportunity to let the door close, because they have the best water in the country. They don't have the PFAS problem. Why, you know, why would we even think, I mean, more threat, it's not getting more water. Getting more water with PFAS is a headache. It's not solving anything. It's just gonna cost us more and more. Not only do a new well cost more, but, you know, it's not gonna be, the way that regulators are going, it's not gonna be possibly usable water. That's the biggest worry, actually.
But I think that Jeff's point is well taken. The ask was to look at alternatives, and we have some, and I think in the case of either some supplemental wells, and everything except for Washington 6 and 5 already have supplemental wells, but, you know, anyways, and putting in Minebrook 4, we have, and relatively quickly could get the updated numbers. What we don't know is the cost of going to MWA, and that's why we're spending a lot of time on getting that information for MWA. And once you have it, then it's a case of, well, what's the best option?
Well, we actually had on our agenda with the FinCom a proposal back 1.5 years ago to do just that, and it was the first increment to just start looking at Minebrook was $1.5 million.
Yep.
They were just fishing around.
I'm not-
So, I mean, we can do the paper analysis, like Jeff says, we can get the cost numbers, what does a well cost, what the investigation costs, and prevent the financial
It's
thing.
closer
But I
to
don't
like
think we have
about
to
$4
spend the
million.
$380,000 going out and
No.
actually doing engine, you know.
Well,
doing any-
we've gotten the estimate on Minebrook 4, and it started the low 3 millions, and then they revised, when we came back at like a couple of years later, it was closer to the upper 3 millions, and I would think you'd probably safely say that it's 4.5, and whatever. And, you know, the MWA probably will cost probably a similar amount, and you're just looking, as you've indicated, now you're weighing what's the best option, and it may be that you, let's hold Minebrook 4 in abeyance, and because Washington 6 could go down or start, and there is, having been pump tested twice, it's a 1 million gallon a day well. It would be good. It's hard to get to, I'll tell you that.
Well, that's part of the cost too, that isn't in the
Right.
formula, is bringing it all the way to the
Yeah.
treatment plant.
And-
Through all that, again, you got
Yeah.
private property and you got.
Well,
swamps
it's
and
not so
wetlands.
much that, it's swamp, and you'd be doing horizontal drilling underneath the swamp to get the, but anyways, I think Jeff's correct, we don't want to lose sight of
Yeah.
the final thing is, we looked
I
at
agree.
A, B, C, A is the best, and, you know, here's why.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
addressed to the town officials, what's the status of the parking lots to protect the water at Jarvis Farm?
That's the next thing on the agenda.
That's
Well,
what
then
I'm
let's
asking
go
about.
to it.
Okay.
here we go.
Let's go to it.
Jarvis Farm.
Okay, so we do have a proposal from Markedu for surveying the lot. Labor and expenses, their proposal is $21,550.
That's it?
So, yeah,
What is that for?
How many cars?
it's not about cars, it's about surveying the lot,
Well, this is the survey.
the survey,
Oh.
right? So, this would be the survey of the property, the meets and bounds.
And this is to clear up the discrepancy that we had with the EPA or whatever.
Yeah. Define the property.
Are they defining the whole property of Jarvis
Yep.
Farm?
Yep, 691 Common Street, entire parcel.
We never had that done when we bought the place?
I wasn't part of it.
I think, wasn't there,
We would have done it before we bought it, right?
Yes.
wasn't there some concern about where conservation issues
Yes.
were.
That's-
And that's where you had to go and say, wait a minute,
Right.
you've mismarked where those are, it's okay for us to put the parking lot.
Yeah, that's in the scope.
So that's what they're trying
You're
to do.
talking about the High Lines?
Well, no, they're up in the air. I'm talking about wetlands that.
Well, underneath the High Lines,
Yeah,
is that an
yeah.
easement or is that not an easement?
I don't know whether that, I remember there was a question of where the parking lot was proposed. I think that there was some conservation issues of, too close to wetlands or stuff. And I think Rick was saying, no, you're mismarked, or you've misinterpreted where those wetlands are. And this is to hopefully to straighten that out, so we could then go back to DEP and say, here's what it is, you got any objection? And I presume, if the Conservation Commission was involved, what,
So 21,000,
550.
yeah, for
That's-
a survey of the property. Will they, is this just a physical survey, or are they gonna designate wetlands, and what are they gonna do for that money?
So, where's the
Is
scope?
it just gonna be, you're gonna put up meets and bounds and stuff like
We don't
that?
have that.
We don't have.
You-
a copy.
No, we can make a copy of that for you.
Just email.
Can you email us?
Yeah.
well, it'll be on the agenda next
Yeah,
time.
we'll take a look,
Just
see.
include it in the, our next package.
There you go.
I'll act surprised when we see it for real in the package.
You know how
Okay.
long this has been?
Yes, I know.
All right, anything else on Jarvis Farm before we move to meters to cash? We still haven't heard from the director there. What do they do in the winter at Jarvis Farm, as far as sporting programs go? Do they have football practice or anything?
I don't know where recreation, the water's shut down, the bathroom's shut down, it's winterized. Everything's boarded up for the season. What we usually have during that season, I'm not sure.
Well, we have that fire walk that's gonna take place though, right?
Yeah, I forget.
I went to go see that.
The only other activity that has happened in the past was on January 1st, first day walk. Yeah, I don't know if you stopped that in COVID and that did
No, he kept that
kept
going.
going? Okay.
Okay?
Last,
Yeah.
one question, like, can we know that all the bills have been generated for the last fiscal year?
Can you say that again?
All the bills for the last fiscal year?
Okay.
Have you generated that?
I'm
Thank you, Bill.
not aware of that.
Can you provide us next time?
Certainly.
Okay, is there any other business before the commission? All right, we'll ask for a
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second that?
second. All in favor?
Aye.
500. Thank you.
All right.